And we're back, and so far we've had some great segments, and now for the third and final segment, which is going to be great too, I promise you. Keith Albert Willis, and tell me please about your credentials, and we talked about your father who was a famous personality in radio, but let's talk about you today. What organization are you with, and that's involving tombstone restoration? So please tell me about the organization you're working with.
Okay, I started an organization called the Walden Culture Center. Now, the Walden Culture Center does a lot of things. And
that just sounds intellectual.
Well, I decided that since I was involved with so many historical societies and research organizations, and even I'm an archivist at the Albany Academy. So doing so many things, what kind of name can we give it? So it's kind of an eclectic draw, and it's called the Walden Culture Center. And because I've done a lot of family research, one of the dimensions of that is going to the cemetery and seeing how the family cemetery stones are shaping up. My own personal cemetery.
You know, I read in a letter from the State Division of Cemeteries, and this is sort of shocking to me, there's about 6,000 cemeteries in New York State, and only 2,000 are under the direction of a board of directors, and most are family cemeteries. And so you do get involved in family cemeteries, which really do need some work, don't they?
Right. Well, I think that there's one of the things to strike to the chase here, there's a misconception that there's a certain level of responsibility for repairing and fixing up cemeteries. Actually, there isn't much responsibility there. There isn't much of obligation. The towns, each town, and we're going outside the large cemeteries like Oakwood or Vale or Albany Rural, are responsible for cutting the grass once a year. Okay? And even large cemeteries like Albany Rural are not literally required to repair the stones. So that if you have a cemetery stone in your plot that's tipped over or damaged in any way, now Albany Rural does have a fund for repair, but they're not required to repair.
They're very lucky in that they do have that kind of fund.
Right, and the funds are limited. I was talking to Joe Germain down there a couple of days ago, and the funds are limited. They do get some money from the state, but they only do as much as they can do. And that's a big, huge cemetery, and Oakwood's even bigger than Albany Rural.
But the family cemeteries are just pretty much left or abandoned, aren't
right,
they?
and I think that I'm involved upstate, Oswego County, in renovating or preserving 3 whole cemeteries.
Really?
Now, they're not large, but they have anywhere from 60 to 200 graves in them. So I'm personally managing that and responsible for that.
Really?
So
That's great.
Well, the thing is that a lot of the families move away. The stones fall on the ground. The grass may not be clipped. The stones eventually will go underground, and the records are missing. So when genealogists, which everybody thinks I'm a genealogist because I go around asking a lot of questions.
You do actually
cemetery.
become one in a way, though, don't you?
I think genealogists want information, just the facts, and I'm kind of an activist guy. You know, I'll go in and get involved with the culture of the area, and get involved with whole cemeteries. Now, that's not always the case, and in many ways, my prime interest is making sure the family stones, or friends of my family, or people that my family knew, that they're in good condition, which requires developing expertise where you can handle any number of variables.
And some of these stones are very fragile, aren't
well,
they?
Actually, in the last 100 years, they've used predominantly granite. Now, granite is almost indestructible. And so the major problems with breakage are with marble or other types of, and years ago that's what they used. They used slate originally.
Some used wood for the ancient graves.
Right, and of course a lot of graves have disappeared because of that, a lot of the markings. But I think one of the problems here is accountability, and a lot of people assume that the cemetery or the town or someone is going to take care of their family plot.
And they're just not.
But see, years ago, people would come to the cemetery, and it was kind of, I don't want to say it was a holiday.
It was an outing.
It was
for
kind
the
of an
family.
outing.
Yeah.
Albany Rural, they had trains running out there. They had carriages going up to it. And so when you go there, you see these gardens, you see these fountains. But now, again, fortunately, you have people like Joe Germain.
Yeah.
Okay. And conscientious people like the various cemetery associations, pursuing that. But some of the epoxies that they have now for repairing cemetery stones are unbelievable. I mean, what you would do is you would apply the epoxy to the area of breakage, now this is an easy break, where you just set the stone on there, hold it for a few minutes, and if a car hit that stone a month from now, it would probably break in a different place. So that shows you how strong the epoxies are on these stones. Now with granite, it's just a case of a lot of times, granite will break, but I think a train would have to run into it.
Now we want to talk about, you have a talk coming up on March 26th. We've been running a PSA on the station. The cemetery, well known in Schenectady, is Vale Cemetery. And there is some damage. You're going to give this talk about tombstone restoration. I think you're going to actually do some work about that. So tell us about the upcoming talk. First, that's March 26th at 2 o'clock. Is that right?
Right. Well, what I'm going to do prior to the talk is do an evaluation of the cemetery in terms of repairs. What types of repairs need to be done. Develop an agenda, a set of priorities, and then talk about how that might be accomplished. I think you have to back up and realize that there's not a lot of people that do repairs. As a matter of fact, I'm probably one of the few independents, but I don't necessarily do everything myself. Okay, I try to keep in touch with people like Rich Stefanazzi. Now Rich, I talked to him the other day about his repair business. That isn't his main business. His main business is selling monuments, but he does some repair. Some people, that's what they do. They repair cemetery stones, but it's kind of a dying art.
Do you want volunteers?
Well, I think that it's a case of, what I try to do is organize my agenda and seeing how much help, what type of help. Some of it's pretty simple. Some of the problems with cemetery stones, just that they've fallen over. So it isn't rocket science here to set up a cemetery stone. However, if you get funding from the state, now this is the real caveat, if you want funding from the state, you have to go through a process where that stone is repaired in a very specific way. There's certain ways to do it. Now, if you don't get money from the state, if it's private money coming from the Cemetery Association, I'm not saying you're just going to throw the stone in the ground and make sure it sits there, but your feet are held less to the fire. Let's put it that way.
I see.
And there's other ways of accomplishing a repair or placement of a cemetery stone that's a lot cheaper.
So you're going to be talking about these issues on March 26th at the Vale Cemetery House at 2 o'clock. And if people want to contact you, to get more information, to talk to you about other cemeteries, you have a website and you have a phone number. Is that correct? How would they contact you?
They could call me, okay? Because they could call me at area code 518-729-4885.
729-4885.
Right.
Okay, and if they want to volunteer or tell you, I have this family cemetery, come out and look at it.
Right. I've had a lot of appeals in Oswego County, but I just moved here from New York City. It's a little easier to work around here.
Well, it sounds fascinating, and we want to remind people, March 26th, 2 o'clock, Vale Cemetery House, and you can call the house or you can call Keith and get some information about this upcoming talk, and come out there and help preserve. This is our history, our legacy, isn't it, Keith?
Especially Vale has a lot. And
all
the cemeteries, Oakwood,
Albany
I talk to
Rural,
people, Albany Rural.
Yeah.
This is where a lot of the things started in the United States.
There are links to our heritage. And I am so sorry, we're running out of time, and I want to thank you so much. It's been fascinating. This has been a great show, and I want to wish everyone a happy St. Patrick's Day. I put on the green. I got the green carnations. My family are the Cunninghams from County Mayo, so I thought I'd take it a little bit further today. But thank you so much. Thank you for all your help for SAC TV, and thank you to my wonderful guests. They've been fascinating today, and I'll see you again March 31st, and thank you for watching Schenectady Today. Have a great day. Great, right on time.
Jesus Christ.